Guys, good afternoon, not morning. Another 2-hour delay that we got today. I just want to show. I'm going to share my screen real fast so I can show you a couple changes that that I just added to make it easier for you. Okay. So here, your class. If you scroll down, you'll notice here, second marking period. I put all of your stuff from the second marking period in its own folder. So that way you're not like scrolling all the way down to try and get to it, right? Also, anything that I find is important, mostly like when we're taking notes. The light just turned off. That's fun. So most when we're taking notes, I don't really know how much more clear I can do this for you guys, but I'm really trying to be even more organized to help you. Right here under the week of 2/8, you can see in bold red, this is the start of the third marking period. Notes on the peripheral system is in 2/9 Zoom recording. So if you open that up and you click 2/9 Zoom recording and you watch it, you'll have notes that you can take from that recording so that you're up to date and ready to go. More so for those of you who are ever absent from class, which you really should be watching the Zoom recordings on your own before the next class, which we've talked about multiple times. And again, I know I sound like a broken record to some of you, but others, we really need to just keep track. We talked about being a fresh start now. So this is a fresh start. I'm adding things to kind of help you guys out as best as I can, right? Last class, we also talked about this. If you guys remember, okay, hopefully you guys can all see that. The peripheral nervous system, we talked about a breakdown. We talked about neurons and how those are the specialized cells within the nervous system, right? And we talked about how these electrical impulses are just known as messages or signals. We talked about how we broke it down into two types of neurons, and then sensory and motor. We broke that down for motor neurons into two types of motor neurons, somatic and autonomic. And again, I'm not going to really go through the whole thing because we did talk about this in detail last class. So then I did tell you guys last class that there is another breakdown to this, right? And that breakdown comes here within the autonomic motor neurons. Now, yes, they're called autonomic motor neurons, but it's kind of like a system within a system. So if you ever hear me say the autonomic system or the somatic motor system, right? They're kind of like systems within the systems. And in a few minutes, we're going to watch a video actually that kind of talks about what I already talked about, but maybe in another way. Having somebody else talk about something, maybe some pictures and stuff, might be a little easier for some of you guys to kind of see. So I'm trying to show you guys things in different ways to help you guys. Your visual learners, sometimes I know I have to like see things too to help me out, and then have this breakdown in addition to that. Hopefully that'll help you. So if we remember, the autonomic system kind of takes care of involuntary things that happen in our body. Now remember, autonomic comes from motor. Motor neurons send information from your brain to the rest of your body, somewhere in your body. Where depends on if it's somatic or if it's autonomic, right? So if we're talking about autonomic, that's all the involuntary areas in your body. That's why in parentheses here, I wrote automatic, because first of all, it sounds like it. And second of all, it's a good way of kind of giving you a hint to what it is, right? All the involuntary impulses travel through them and they go to areas in your body without your control, smooth cardiac muscle, like your heart rate or your breathing or your digestion, for example. And these next two breakdowns, I could literally sit here and talk about those two things for 3 months. That's how specific and detailed they go. We're not going to go there. The only thing you're going to have to know is one little specific thing, and we'll go from there. So the first one, there we go. That was in white. There we go. If I knew how to type. Sympathetic. And the other one, parasympathetic. So it's funny because these are kind of like systems within the systems within the systems, right? So we have our peripheral nervous system, and then we have a somatic system and an autonomic system. And then within the autonomic system, we have a sympathetic system and a parasympathetic system. Sounds fancy, right? Sounds fancy. I'm going to go over what that means in a second. So all you really have to know about these two words, and you're going to learn a little bit about what they are in the video we're going to watch in a few, but all you have to know is that, I don't know why that's happening, is that these work together to create a balance in the body. They work together to create a balance in the body. Now, for those of you taking physiology or anatomy or any other course that has to do with our body, does anybody here know what another term for balance in the body means? There's a term for it. There's a word for that. That's like a definition for a term. Does anybody know?
Homeostasis?
Yes. Who said that?
Alexis, you are.
Yes. Homeostasis. That's how you spell it. No, it's not. Homeostasis. So there's a lot of different things we can come to when we're talking about this. So like, hey, which of the following systems work together to create a balance in your body? Sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? Or what is another term for creating a balance in your body? Homeostasis. Okay. Pretty much one of these kind of work as a fight or flight, like, it's on the move, hype, hype, hype. And then the other one kind of works as a rest and digest and a relax state, right? Give some of you guys a second to kind of finish writing that down. And then I'm gonna kind of make this smaller and show you guys, all right? Are there any questions there? That breaks down the peripheral nervous system in a nutshell, okay? So, I'm gonna try my best to share this video. I hope it works. I've never shared a video before. Actually, I think I did. Okay, do you guys see this? Can I get a yes from someone?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Great. So I don't know if you've heard of this guy. This guy's pretty cool. He has a lot of videos. You have? All right, so Abby has. So it's kind of like dorky in a way, like probably shouldn't say that on a video, but he explains it pretty cool. Like I don't know, I like the way you don't. Oh, really? So Abby's saying she doesn't know how anyone couldn't have seen him before. So I guess that's a good thing, right? Maybe. All right. He does explain a lot of, he's like the professional of like health stuff or science stuff, okay? 401. So we're gonna watch a little bit of this and then I'm gonna kind of fast forward because there's a part where he talks about that goes a little bit more into detail than we're really gonna need to know. And also there might be other parts that you watch that you're like, myelin sheath, what does that mean? Like if I haven't talked about it yet, or until now, then you don't really have to know about it. He is going to be talking about the neuron and the parts of a neuron, and we will be learning about that later on. All right, so here we go. And let me know if you cannot hear it. I just want to make sure everyone can hear everything. I don't want to play this and then you guys are sitting there like 10 minutes in. I can't hear it.
This morning was a typical morning for me. I woke up thinking about that dream that I keep having about the guy in the sloth suit, and then I got dressed because I was cold, and then I made some toast butter because I was hungry, and then I let the dog out because she was whining and staring at me. And then I made some tea, but I let it cool off before I drank it because it burned my mouth yesterday. In addition to being just part of my morning ritual, all of these actions are examples of what my nervous system does for me. The weirdo dream, the sensation of cold air and hot tea, deciding what to put on the toast, going to the door, the sound of the dog, all that was processed and executed by electrical and chemical signals to and from nerve cells. You can't oversell the importance of the nervous system. It controls all the things, all your organs, all your physiological and psychological reactions, even your body's other major controlling force, the endocrine system, bows down before the nervous system. There is no you without it. There's no me without it. There's no dogs without it. There's no animals. There's no things. There's things. It's important. That's why we're dedicating the next several episodes to the fundamentals of the nervous system, its anatomy and organization, how it communicates, and what happens when it gets damaged. This is Mission Control, people. Even though pretty much all animals, except super simple ones like sponges, have a nervous system, ours is probably the most distinctive feature of our species. From writing novels to debating time travel to juggling knives, all of your thoughts and actions and emotions can be boiled down into three principal functions: sensory input, integration, and motor output. Imagine a spider walking onto your bare knee. The sensory receptors on your skin detect those 8 little legs. That information is your sensory input. From there, your nervous system processes that input and decides what should be done about it. That's called integration. Like, should I be all zen about it and just let it walk over me? Or should I not be zen and freak out and run around screaming, "Spider!" Your hand lashing out to remove the spider, and maybe your accompanying banshee scream is the motor output, the response that occurs when your nervous system activates certain parts of your body. As you can imagine, it takes a highly integrated system to detect, process, and act on data like this all the time. And when we talk about the nervous system, we're really talking about several levels of organization, starting with two main parts: the central and peripheral nervous systems. The central nervous system is your brain and spinal cord, the main control center. It's what decided to remove the spider and gave the order to your hand. Your peripheral nervous system is composed of all the nerves that branch off from the brain and spine that allow your central nervous system to communicate with the rest of your body. And since its job is communication, your peripheral system is set up to work in both directions. The sensory or afferent division is what picks up sensory stimuli, like, hey, there's an arachnid on you, and slings that information to the brain. Your motor or efferent division is the part that sends directions from your brain to the muscles and glands, like, hey, hand part, how about you do something about that spider? The motor division also includes the somatic or voluntary nervous system that rules your skeletal muscle movement, and the autonomic or involuntary nervous system that keeps your heart beating and your lungs breathing and your stomach churning. And finally, that autonomic system too has its own complementary forces. Its sympathetic division mobilizes the body into action and gets it all fired up like, spider, while the parasympathetic division relaxes the body and talks it down, like it wasn't a black widow or anything. You're fine, breathe. So that's the organization of your nervous system in a nutshell. But no matter what part you're talking about, they're all made up of mainly nervous tissue, which you'll remember is densely packed with cells. Maybe less than 20% of that tissue consists of extracellular space. Everything else, cells. The type of cells you most likely heard of are the neurons, or nerve cells, which respond to stimuli and transmit signals. These cells get all the publicity. They're the ones we're always thanking every time we ace an exam or think up a snappy comeback to an argument. But these wise guys really account for just a small part of your nervous tissue because they are surrounded and protected by gaggles of...
I'm gonna fast forward this because this is where I was talking about how it was like a little more than what you really need to know. And then we're gonna start here.
Three super cool things in common. Number one, they're some of the longest lived cells in your body. There's a lot of debate right now about whether you're actually born with all the neurons you'll ever have, but some research suggests that at least in your brain's cerebral cortex, your neurons will live as long as you do. Cool fact number two, they are irreplaceable. It's a good thing that they have such longevity because your neurons aren't like your constantly renewing skin cells. Most neurons are amitotic, so once they take on their given roles in the nervous system, they lose their ability to divide. So Take care of them. And number 3, they have huge appetites. Like a soccer-playing teenager, neurons have a crazy high metabolic rate. They need a steady and abundant supply of glucose and oxygen, and about 25% of the calories that you take in every day are consumed by your brain's activity. Along with all these wonderful qualities, your neurons also share the same basic structure. The soma, or cell body, is the neuron's life support. It's got all the normal cell goodies like a nucleus, DNA, mitochondria, ribosomes, cytoplasm. The bushy branch-like things projecting out from the soma are dendrites. They're the listeners. They pick up messages, news, gossip from other cells and convey that information to the cell body. The neuron's axon, meanwhile, is like the talker. This long extension or fiber can be super short or run a full meter from your spine down to your ankle. We've got a few different axon layouts in our body, but in the most abundant type of neuron, the axons transmit electrical impulses away from the cell body to other cells. For us students of biology, it's a good thing that nerve cells aren't all identical because their differences in structure are one of the ways that we tell them apart and classify them. The main feature we look at is how many processes extend out from the cell body. A process, in this case, being a projecting part of an organic structure. 99% of all your neurons are multipolar neurons with 3 or more processes sticking out from the soma, including one axon and a bunch of
And that's
dendrites.
the one that we're
Bipolar
focusing
neurons
on.
have 2 processes, an axon and a single dendrite,
You don't need to know
extending
about
from
that.
opposite sides of the cell body. They're pretty rare, found only in a few special sensory places like the retina of your eye. Unipolar neurons, on the other hand, have just one process and are found mostly in your sensory receptors. So if you ever find yourself probing around someone's nervous tissue, remember these 3 terms to help you figure out what you're looking at. But because we're talking about physiology here as well as anatomy, we have to classify these cells in terms of their function. And that basically comes down to which way an impulse travels through a neuron in relation to the brain and spine. Our sensory or afferent neurons pick up messages and transmit impulses from sensory receptors in, say, the skin or internal organs and send them toward the central nervous system. Most sensory neurons are unipolar. Motor or efferent neurons do the opposite. They're mostly multipolar and transmit impulses away from the central nervous system and out to your body's muscles and glands. And then there are interneurons or association neurons, which live in the central nervous system and transmit impulses between those sensory and motor neurons. Interneurons are the most abundant of your body's neurons and are mostly multipolar. Okay, it's applied knowledge time. Let's review everything we've learned so far in terms of that spider on your knee. Those 8 creeping legs first activate your unipolar sensory neurons in the skin on your knee when they sense something crawling on you. The signal travels up an axon wrapped in Schwann cells and into your spinal cord, where it gets passed on to several multipolar interneurons. Now, some of those interneurons might send a signal straight down a bunch of multipolar neurons to your quadriceps muscle on your thigh, triggering you to kick your leg out before you even know what's going on. Other interneurons will pass that signal to neurons that carry it up your spinal cord to your brain. That's where your body first recognizes that thing as a spider, and the connections between neurons interpret and split the signal so that you can either scream and start swinging your arms wildly about, or remain calm and with dignity remove the spider from your person. It's all based on the connections between neurons, which brings me to a whole new question. How? How in the name of Jean-Martin Charcot do nerve cells use chemistry and electricity to communicate with each other? It's one of the most stupefyingly awesome and complicated aspects of your nervous system and basically of all life, and it is what we will cover in our next lesson.
All right. Okay, so just another way of kind of, showing you guys what we've already kind of went over. A little bit more detail. Don't need to know too much of that. We are going to have a reading, I believe, not next class, maybe the class after that, kind of going over more about what you need to know. And then we're going to be going into the CNS, central nervous system, talk about the parts of the brain. I want to take a break here and give you guys a little lateral thinking brain teaser. Okay, so you're going to need a piece of paper. All right, it is going to show you, this is similar to the first class we had in the nervous system where you had to draw like the box with the X inside. It looked like a little house without lifting up your pen or pencil and without tracing over a line you've already made. But this one is like on steroids. It's like bigger. So get out a piece of paper real fast, pen or pencil. Just have like a one that you can throw out because it's going to be kind of like a bigger thing, Or, I mean, you can keep it in your notes. I don't care. Give me a yes or a no. Can you guys see the nonstop challenge part 3. Can you guys see that on your screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. All right, here we go. It only gives you 10 seconds. I'm going to pause it and give you guys more time. All right. See if you can draw it. Take a minute or so. Try it out. I think that I eventually got this, but it took me like forever. And I don't even know if I remember how to do this, to be honest. If anyone got it, let us know.
I got it.
You did? Who said that?
Yeah.
I did too.
Nice.
Yeah, but
Nice. All right, let's count down 10 seconds. Here we go. All right, now it's gonna show you. Now, there's probably more than one way of doing this, but it's gonna show you. You just did it? Okay. So let's see if you did it this way, or maybe you know another way. Here we go. Ah. Anybody do it that way?
yeah, I just started from a different point.
Oh, but you did the same way, just like another side of it. You didn't do it
Yeah.
that way either, Abby? Nice. All right, cool. Just a little brain break, little brain teaser, get you guys kind of thinking a little bit. Okay, so that was an easier day. Listen, I thought last class was a lot of information, a lot of stuff, a lot of talking from me. I don't like doing that much. So next class, we don't have school on Monday. Remember that. We don't have school on Monday. So that means I have you guys on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. Okay, Tuesday and Thursday of next week. We're going to be going into some more lateral thinking questions. The next one that you guys are going to have is going to be like a mystery, and you have to try and solve it. Okay, and maybe if we'll have time, we'll do like a few of those, and it'll be an easier day. And then we'll get into something else after that. Are there any questions?